breaking 2,000 yards next year receiving?
I will break 2,000 yards next year, bro. And all I'm gonna say is 2,000 yards was on my bucket list to get, bro, before I leave this league. I got y'all, baby. 2,000 yards and another Super Bowl. We getting that. Believe that.
Despite having one of the greatest seasons by a wide receiver in NFL history, Tyreek Hill will still be underappreciated in the eyes of the NFL. If he is so talented on the field, why will he never get a shot at the MVP? Well, the issue surrounding the MVP award is far larger than the average viewer would understand. You see, Tyreek Hill, if the season ended right now, should be the MVP. But that will never happen. Out of the 58 unique players that have been awarded the MVP over the years, 37 of those guys have been quarterbacks, 18 times it's been a running back, and only 2 times has it ever been a defensive player. Now, you're probably sitting there adding that up and saying, Colin, that's only 57. I thought you said 58. Well, in 1982, Mark Moseley actually won the MVP as a place kicker. He missed only 1 field goal that entire regular season and broke the league record at that time for consecutive made kicks. Now, this was a much different time, where a good kicker was a rare commodity in the league, so we could just categorize this one as an outlier. Now, the MVP, it's an incredible feat for any player. Most players can fit all the criteria and still be snubbed their entire career. So what is that criteria of being the most valuable player in the NFL? You would think that it's easy, that it's just a player who's the most valuable to their team. But when we take a closer look, things are much different. 24 seasons ago, that's how long it's been since a quarterback or a running back has won the award. Lawrence Taylor did the impossible and stole the MVP from its typical winners. It's honestly hard to believe that in the history of the entire NFL, no receiver and only a handful of other players have taken home the MVP. If a guy like Jerry Rice never won this award, how is a guy like Tyreek Hill in today's era of the NFL supposed to win? Well, the answer is easy. Jerry Rice has never had a season quite like this. While Jerry Rice did accumulate numbers that would justify his candidacy, Joe Montana and Steve Young posted quote-unquote more impressive numbers, because quarterbacks get the credit for not only their receivers' yards, but everyone that they complete a pass to. Rice had great quarterbacks his entire career, so there was no chance of him ever seeing this award. Now I've done my research, I've looked at every person to win the MVP, and I believe there are 3 regulations a player has to meet to be a non-QB and win the MVP. Number 1, without this player, would the team still be winning? Number 2, is this player accomplishing something that the league has never seen before? And number 3, does this player make each and every person on his team better at what they do? Now this is often something that limits wide receivers from ever winning this award, but there's one guy that stands out. Let's take a look at Tyreek Hill this season. He is on pace to break the single season receiving yards record held by Calvin Johnson. This is a different age of the NFL where receivers are more valuable than ever, and Tyreek is doing something that nobody thought was possible. He is on his way to 2,000 yards. Nobody with the WR next to their name in the record books has ever had 2,000 yards. And it's not just because of the extra game he's getting this season. He may cross that barrier during week 16. Tyreek had set a career high last season with 1,710 yards on 119 receptions in 2022. But as of me recording this right now, Tyreek has already recorded 1,481 yards receiving on just 92 catches and in just 12 games. He is the league leader in receiving yards and is on pace for 2,098 yards by the end of it, which would make him the first player to ever cross that mark. Now, despite all the awful offenses and backup quarterbacks that we've seen this year, the league is now predicated on speed, skill, and flashy plays. Now, Miami and Tyreek Hill, they're just that. Miami has a legit shot at the #1 seed because Tyreek Hill makes the players around him better. Now, don't get me wrong, you guys saw my first video on this channel. I'm as much as a pro Tua Tagovailoa guy as anyone maybe on the internet or in the world. I love the guy. He is playing at an elite level this year. But anyone watching these games knows that Tyreek Hill is just as much responsible for that success. Now, if Tyreek wasn't playing, Tua would still be good, don't get me wrong. But the way that Tyreek changes the game is just different. So tell me again, why can't a receiver win the MVP? Well, it's a lot bigger than just what's on the field. All season long, the lazy sportsbook narrative has been to make the quarterback of the perceived best team to be the favorite. Bookmakers will shift the top of the MVP board like sneakerheads are shifting off their shoes. Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, they were the preseason favorites. But then Tua Tagovailoa popped up, dropped 70 on the Broncos. All of a sudden, he was the favorite. Then Patrick Mahomes was the leader. And then Jalen Hurts beat Kansas City, so he was the leader. Now Brock Purdy, after what happened against the Eagles, is somehow the favorite. Now, Purdy did throw for 314 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a lopsided victory against another Mickey Mouse MVP runner in Jalen Hurts. So what did FanDuel, DraftKings, and all the sports books do? They slashed Purdy's MVP odds from 14-1 down to 3-1. Now, that's important. Award markets are actually the worst thing for Vegas. I think Las Vegas odds maker Dave Sharpin explained this the best to Fox Sports the other day. He said, award markets are the worst to book. The absolute worst. I'm glad I don't have to do it anymore. We're trying to handicap what 50 MVP voters think while also balancing bets that come across the counter. The overreaction move is a great discussion in the back room. It's mostly to stop taking bets. A move from 14-1 to 3-1 is a move to halt. You're not really offering much at 3-1. You want to bet it? Fine. If you don't, move on. When you make a number on a football game, it plays out to a different script. You're okay because you're taking bets from both sides. The voting aspect is a different beast in a book. Guys rise and fall for 17, 18 weeks. Imagine the MVP odds if Philadelphia upsets Dallas. And why does it have to be a quarterback? The McCaffrey discussion was white hot early on, and now he's just an afterthought. It's a silly market altogether. So what he is explaining there is the fact that NFL odd makers in Vegas move these lines up and down so much in the season to balance out odds and stop people from making so many bets on who might actually win. They do this rather than setting the odds for who should actually be winning based on what they do on the field. Honestly, when you think about it, it makes sense. This is Vegas. They don't care about the players. They care about making as much money as possible. But what these odds do is they sway the people's perception who vote on them. They see the talk about Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, just like you and I do. Whether they want it to or not, it affects their decision making. MVP means most valuable player. When looking at every player across the NFL right now, no single player has made more of a difference this season than Tyreek Hill. The Dolphins are the 1 seed in the AFC right now. Somebody knock on wood for that. But take Tyreek off that team, they sure as hell aren't this good. The last time a non-QB won this award was in 2012, when Minnesota Vikings running back Adrian Peterson rushed for 2,097 yards. It was an agonizing 9 yards short of breaking Eric Dickerson's all-time rushing record. But all in all, this season, it was a spectacle. The season started just 9 months after Peterson tore his ACL and MCL in December of 2011. Peterson started that season well, but by week 7 had only rushed for 100 yards in just 1 game. However, that led to one of Peterson's most memorable games in week 7 against the Arizona Cardinals. In that 21-14 victory, he rushed for 153 yards and 1 touchdown. That started a run of 8 straight games with 100+ yards rushing, including 6 of 150+ yards and going over 200 twice. Then came week 17 against the Green Bay Packers. Peterson rushed for 199 yards and 1 touchdown in a 37-34 victory, which helped his team secure a spot in the playoffs. Overall, Peterson's 2012 season was one of the most impressive seasons in NFL history, but not the most impressive season by an NFL running back. However, he still took home the MVP. To win this award as a non-quarterback, you need something far beyond special to happen. You need something nobody has ever seen happen in their lifetime to occur. 2,000 yards for a receiver? I think that checks all of those boxes. Now here's the question that will decide everything. If he breaks the record, will MVP voters see that as just as much of a Tua accomplishment, or will they give Tyreek the props that he deserves? He is currently 7th in the MVP race right now, so it's really not looking great, but I think Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel described the Tua-Tyreek dynamic better than anyone else.
I think they're both tremendous players, and my thing is like, I think they're tremendous players that can make plays on their own, for sure. Together, the important thing for this team is, you know, that you're seeing the best selves of both players while playing together. So I think that's, for me, I know they're elite players, but working together, they're finding, you know, Tua is able to be super aggressive in certain windows because he trusts what Tyreek's going to do. Tyreek's able to be super aggressive because he trusts Tua's field vision and knows that if he's putting a ball up in the air a little bit over the middle, to just track it and catch it because lead him in harm's way. So aggressiveness they play with is very unique, and just you know, their ability to make plays together that other people can't, I think is the result of both of their numbers. They're independently awesome, but together they're even better.
When Tyreek Hill came out before the season and said he was going to reach 2,000 yards receiving, many people called him crazy. People doubted. They didn't believe. Now, he still has a long way to go, but I hope people who are watching this in the future after the season are laughing at the thought of me sitting here still just hoping that he breaks it because he surpassed it by that much. So when you look at the 3 regulations, Tyreek crosses off all the boxes. 1, without Tyreek Hill, this team would not be the same. He is priceless to the Miami Dolphins. 2, he is doing something something the league has just never seen before. 2,000 yards would be a generational mark. And 3, he is willing his team to victory each and every week, making every single player around him on the field better. Now, if you agree with me or just want to watch more deep dives into the NFL, make sure you click subscribe here. I'm working on a new video each week, exposing the darkest hidden secrets that the NFL doesn't want you to know. So until then, this is just another case of foul play.